Right, welcome back. So how did you get on with that fiendish? Did it all make sense? And have you been managed to practice on Sudoku online and things like that? Yeah, try to get start on the easy ones, get harder and harder. I think I'm going to do now. I'm going to leave the ordinary Sudoku there at there. You've got your twosomes, threesomes. Just try to get harder and harder ones, and you will get to a stage probably where the twos and threesomes it will not solve the Sudoku. You'll need more tools. So, if you want to let me know if you've got one that you don't think you can solve with twos and threes, if you let me know what it is, then I'll have a look, and if need be, I'll come back and do a bit more advanced tools because there's lots and lots of them. So we'll park ordinary Sudokus there, and I want to move on to the killer Sudokus, which is my favourite. Slightly different. You'll notice it starts off with a blank canvas, which is quite confusing to begin with, but I hope you enjoy it. So this is Killer Sudoku Basic, very basic. Okay, let's start having a look at a killer Sudoku, which is my favourite. I must admit, I do love killer Sudokus. As you can see, the grid is slightly different. You've still got the 9 blocks, you've still got the 9 rows, and you've still got the 9 columns. You've still got the rule that the numbers in there must add up, be 1 to 9, 1 to 9, 1 to 9, etc. But the difference is you've got little subsets inside here. So although all of these must add up to 9, them two must add up to 3. Yep, and as you can see, they've all got little labels in. Now, what I will explain in a minute is some of the combinations that you'll come across, and you'll soon learn them. They're quite easy. The more you do it, obviously the easier it gets. So first of all, what you'll need to do, you'll need to be able to say what is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 9. Now please don't start saying 1 plus 2 is 3 plus 3. There is a far quicker way of doing that. And before we carry on with this, let's just show you how to do a series if you can't remember it. This is something taught to me by my maths teacher I mentioned before, Mr. Tansfield, wonderful teacher. 56 years later, I still remember it. So let's do that first, and then we'll come back to do this Sudoku. Oh, and one thing I did forget to mention is that some of these, I don't know what they call them, these numbers, if you like, so these all have to add up to 21. You're not allowed to have the same repetitive digits in there. So if you've got a 1 here, you can't have a 1 there. Yeah. Or if you've got this one here down here, if you've got a 9 there, you can't have a 9 down here. Okay, that is quite important. All right, so how do we add up a numerical series? In this case, Sudoku, it's numbers 1 to 9. Well, the way you do it is you find the middle one, which is a 5, and you multiply it by how many there are. In this case, 5 by 9, that equals 45. How simple is that? There's a couple of other ones, and I'll just quickly show you those as well. But when you're doing these, sometimes you find that a series doesn't have a middle number. Like in this case, you've got 8 numbers this time. So what is the middle number? Well, in fact, it is halfway between a 4 and a 5. In other words, 4.5. So 4.5 times 8. So if you add them all up, the answer's 36. Now, the numbers don't have to be consecutive. It doesn't have to be 1, 2. It could be 3, 6, 9, 12. So we're going up by 3s all the time. Still doesn't matter. As long as you can find the middle one. Now, the middle between 9 and 12, the easiest way to work out the middle, what's the middle, is add 9 and 12, you get 21, and half it, you get 10 and a half. So it's 10 and a half, and there's 6 numbers, so that'd be 63. Isn't it easy? Okay, let's get back to the Sudoku. Okay, before we go back to the actual Sudoku, what I've done here is just list out some of the combinations that you'll need to know. Now, some of them are absolutely obvious. For instance, if the total of 2 cells is 3, well, it must be 1 and 2. If it's 4, 2, it must be 1 and 3. Obviously, if it's 6, it's 1, 2, 3. If there's 3 numbers. If there's 7, if the total is 7 and there's 3 numbers, it's 1, 2, 4. And if it's 8, total 8 and there's 3, one of them must be a 1. That's quite a handy one. Okay, 16 obviously is 9, 7, etc. 22 in 3 has to have a 9 in it. And the rest, I think it's self-explanatory, except for probably this one, that if sometimes, especially not so much the mild one, but in the really extreme one, you have a great big box to fill in, and there's 8 numbers. So if the total is 44, for instance, you know that the one that's not in there must be a 1. So you take the 44 off of 45, basically. If the total's 36, you know it must be a 9. I hope that makes sense. Okay, well let's get back to the Sudoku. Okay, well hopefully that made sense. So now you know that 1 to 9 equals 45, and that is really important in Killer Sudoku. So all the numbers in that block will add up to 45, all the numbers in that row will add up to 45, all the numbers in that column will add up to 45. Okay, you've also known now some of the combinations. Now some of them are so obvious. Let's start with this one, for instance. I mean, if that's a 3, well those 2 must be 1 and 2. Yeah, it can't possibly be anything else. Same goes for 16. If you're only using numbers 1 to 9, so that could only be a 9, 7. Obviously, it can't be 8 and 8, because that'd be a duplicate. We can't do that. So let's go through and let's fill in the obvious ones first, and then we'll come back and do some of the harder ones. So that must be an 8 and a 9. 16 is a 9 and a 7. So that's both 9 and 7. We've got a 3 and a 1 for a 4. We've got 2 and a 1. I'm sure one of you is going to go, oh yeah, but that's on that row. But let's come back to that. We'll come back to that in a minute. A 4 there is a 3 and a 1. 3 and a 1. 23 is 9, 8, 6. 23 is a 9, 8, 6. Yeah, 16, 6. 16 there is a 9 and a 7. That's a 9 and a 7. There's a 2 and a 1, which adds, can only be adds up to 1, of course. So 15, 14, 6. No. 3 and a 1 is a 4. 15, 14, 23, 14. 3 and a 1 is a 4. That's all it can be. 9, 7. That's all it can be. Now, as mentioned in those combinations, you've also got ones like this 22. Now, 22 has to have a 9 in it. Yeah, it can't have anything else. Then on top of that, it's 9. Then on top of that, it's either 8, 5, or it's 7, 6. Yeah. Now let's start putting a bit of common sense in around this. Now, first of all, if you've got a 7, 9 there, you can't have a 9 there, so get rid of that. We've got 8 and 9 here. Well, we've got a 7 and 9 there, so that can't be the 9, so that has to be the 8. Then that must be the 9. You've got a 1 and 2 here, so that has to be the 3. That must be the 1. You've got 1s here, so that can't be a 1. That has to be 2, and that has to be a 1. Yeah, I hope this is all making sense. What else have we got? We must have loads of ones like that. Right, yep. We got 8 and 9 there, so that has to be the 7, not the 9, and that's the 9. And we need a 9 in this, well, there, or there. Now, don't be tempted to say, oh, there's a 9 there, it must be there, because it could still be there or there. Yep. Very easy to make a mistake there. Right, what have we got up here? Let's have a look at, I know, this 8. Let's have a look at this 8. Now, an 8 is 7, 1, 6, 2, 5, 3. Can't be that 6, 1 or 5, 3, so it must be 6, 2. You don't know which way round it is. It is just a twosome. But it means that is a 1. And that is a 2. Because that's going to be a 9, that has to be a 7. And that has to be the 9. And with your ordinary Sudoku hat on, you know 9, and if it's a 9 there, we must have a 9 either in there. Oops, no, don't want a big one. We want a pencil mark. There. It can't be there because we've got a 9 there. Okay. I'm going to go slightly different here, and I did say to you, you need to understand that a row or a column must add up to 45. Now, when you get to the harder killer Sudokus, you'll need to know that, but because this is quite an easy one, you may be able to do it without knowing that. But the reason you do need to know it in a big one, look at this column here. We've got a 9, we've got 15, a 15 and a 3. So that's 33, that's 42. So if it adds up to 45, that must be a 3. And if that's a 3, that must be a 4. Yeah. 999. Right, let's have a look. We've got 15 is either a 9 and a 6 or an 8 and a 7. There's a 7 there, so it can't be 9, 6, it must be 8, 7. Because of that 7, that's got to be the 8, that's got to be the 7. And if you come down here, that's a little threesome of its own, and that's got to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that's 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6. A little threesome there. Right, we've got a 4. Right, let's just look at this 8. 8 is 7, 1, 6, 2, 5, 3. So it must be a 6, 2. We've got 6 in that column, so 6 must go in that column. And that must be the 2. Which means we should be able to work this one out now. We've only got a few numbers left. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. We must have a 5 in it. Must have a 5. We've got a 9 already, so it must be an 8. It can't be the 9 can't be there. I think we said that before. We can't have the 8 there, so that must be the 5. Now, if that's the 5, can you see that must be a 6? And if that's a 6, that must be a 7. And because of all these add up to 45, there's missing is a 4. A 6. Now a 6 is a 5, 1 or a 4, 2. As we've got a 1 there, if it can't be a 4, 2, it must be a 5, 1. So that's got to be a 1, that's got to be a 5. Because of that, a 7 is a 6, 1, 5, 2, 4, 3. So this must be a 4, 3. We've got a 3 in that column, so that must be the 3, that must be the 4. We've got only one number left there, and I think that's an
8. Yep, that seems to fit. We've got one number missing here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a 5. So that's 13. That must be a 6. And yep, that works out. Okay, that 8 means that this 8 can't be there. So 8 must be there. We've got 4 there. So this must be 12. Now 12 is 8, 4 or 7, 5. But it can't be 8, 4, so it must be 7, 5. And do you see that 7 over there? It must be a 7 here and a 5 there. Because we've got 7 there, that must be a 9. That must be a 7. Oh, right, should we have a little break? A little slurp, I think, is called for. Oh, that's better. Right, okay, ready for action now. Right, 1, let's go across there. 1, that's a 3. That must be a 1. A 1, 1, we must have 1 down the bottom. There must be that 1. That must be the 2. If that's an 8, that can't be an 8. We need an 8 in here. Oh, I missed that one, didn't I? So that must be the 8, and that must be the 5. Yeah, just a little thing that you will be using for harder ones. It's a bit obvious in this case, but let's go through it. Again, if all of those have to add up to 45, here we've got 7, we've got a 13, so that's 20, 27, 30, 6. Sorry, so that's 7. No, I've got that wrong, haven't I? Hang on, what's happened here? Got 2. No, sorry, that's a 9. That's beg your pardon. That's better. So that's 7 plus 17 is 24, 31, 32, 34, 40. So that has got to be a 5. Just to test it, the last 2 should add up to 7, and it is 4 and 3, which does indeed add up to 7. We've got a 3 there, so 3. So that must be the 4. 8. We've got an 8 here. Now, 8 is 7, 1, 6, 2, 4, 3. So it must be 6, 2. But at the moment, we don't know which way round it is. So I think we just do, yes, 6, 2. But that means that that's a 9. And that's a 7. 6. Here we go. Well, we've got another one of these with the, so you can see it's all filled up except for this one here. So let's do it that way. 4 plus 12, 28, 37. So that must be an 8. And just to test, there's a 9 in there. So 8, 1, 7, 2, 6, 3. It must be a 5, 4. Right, here we've got, if you like, it's like a threesome really, isn't it? But it's a bit easier because that 6 is either a 5, 1 or a 4, 2. But it must be a 4, 2. There's a 4 there, so that must be a 4 there, not there. There must be a 2. The only one we got left is a 3, I believe. That 2 means that that's a 6. Oh, that's a, what happened there? Gotcha. Oh, change that back. That's a 3. That must be a 6, and that must be a 2. 21 over here. We've got 9 already. 14, so that must be a 7 in there. Don't know which one's a 7. We don't know. Could be that one, or 6, 9. Again, down, we've only got one left, and that must be an 8. Yeah, 8. Now if that's an 8, this is going to be a 6. Now 6, as before we said, is 5, 1, 4, 2. So it must be a 4, 2. So there's a 4 because of that 4. That's a 2, which means that that's a 6 and that's a 2. Yep, that seems to make sense. Right, 14. Now 14 can only be 9, 5 or 8 and 6. If you look at that, there's a 9, 5 in the same column. So that can't be a 9 or a 5, which means that can't be 9, 5. So it must be 8, 6. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I hope it does. Now we've only got 2 more to go in here. And we still don't know whether that's a 7 or a 9 yet. We might find that out. Because if we've got an 8 there, that must be a 7. That must be the 9 in that case, because of that 7. And this must be the 7. That must be the 9. That must be the 7. Now we've only got 1 number left in here, so let's get that out of the way. And that must be a 5. And just a little check, just run up there, make sure, yep, that's definitely a 5. That means that's not a 5. Also, it can't be a 4 there. Also, it can't be a 4 there, a 6 there, so that must be the 4. 4, 5, yeah, so that can't be the 4 there. Yes, we've got 5, 6, 5, 6. Coming along here, so look at this, we've got an 8 here. Now 8 is 7, 1, 6, 2, so it must be a 5, 3. So that must be the 5, and that must be the 3. And coming along here then, if that's because of that 3, that must be the 1. That must be a 3. That must be a 6. That must be the 5. Getting rid of this one, I've noticed that 1 there, so that must be a 3 up there, and a 1 there. What are we missing out of this column? We're missing a 2, so it can't be there, it must be there. Because this adds up to 14, 5, 7, 10, that must be a 4. Nearly there. Right, what are we missing out of this one? We need a 1, which in this column, we've got 1 there, so it must be there. And the only one remaining is a 8. Only one remaining there. It's either it must be a 6, and that must be a 9. Oh, got something wrong. Ah, dear, oh dear. What's wrong? Oh, I got those round the wrong way. Let's have a look. Yeah. Oh, that's a 5. I should have seen that. That's a 6. Hang on. That's a 5. Let me finish. Yeah, that's a 5. So that should be the 6. Yep, that's better. Okay, so that is a Sudoku. Fairly simple. Now I think what we'll probably do next is we'll go on to a moderate killer. Now you've done that. So as part, if you want to do a bit of homework, just dig some of these out, these Sudokus. You can go on Sudoku Online, etc. Loads and loads of sites with them. And you can say, ask for killer and make it gentle. And just get used to some of those numbers. Now, those combinations, you'll learn them very, very quickly. A lot of them are so obvious. It's not until you get numbers like 29, which is 9875, that's what you need to learn. So, yeah, have a little play. And the next time we come back, we'll go for a moderate. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you soon.